if there are fewer CP opportunities and there's more warranty opportunities, don't you have to rethink how you market your service department,
Huge.
how you go after, how you capture that warranty work
Yes.
from customers? Much more important now that you make sure you're getting all of those warranty eligible vehicles in your PMA to come to the dealership. So there's a fundamental rethinking that has to take place across all aspects of the service department.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Golden Wrench Podcast, where I get to talk to anybody and everybody I want to talk to when it comes to the fixed ops business. Now, I'm stoked for today's guest. We may have to reschedule once, but it's totally worth it because we're going to cover some amazing topics today, and I know for everybody out there watching and listening, you're going to want to take some notes on this one. So if you're able to, grab a pen and paper and get ready for this. If not, just if you're in the car listening, that's cool. We like that too. Anyways, hey, we couldn't do these amazing interviews without our sponsors. So we're just going to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors. We'll be right back.
For years, I've been saying that you have to process your way to profitability, and no one knows that better than the folks at Repair 360. You all know how important it is to have a fast, streamlined used car reconditioning process. Remember, time kills profit. Getting a used car frontline ready in less time while providing transparent communication between departments is what Repair 360 is all about. With Repair 360's automated used car recon manager, you will drive recon times down while giving sales the visibility they need to stop complaining. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that part. Anyways, you have to check out their website at repair360.com and see how they can revolutionize your reconditioning process.
All right, guys, we're back. I have the one, the only, the oh so famous Jim Roche with me. Jim's laughing in the background right now. I got Jim Roche with me. Jim, what's going on? How you doing?
Excellent, Jason. I'm a little intimidated by the introduction, but great to be here, and thanks for asking me to be on your podcast.
And I'm really looking forward to this recording today. We got a chance to talk a little bit, before we started recording over some of the topics, and I'm just like, oh man, this is juicy. What it reminds me of. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about the funny language that we have in the automotive industry. And he asked me, well, what's the funniest thing you ever heard in the automotive industry, language-wise, like what we use? And I said, a ham sandwich. He's like, a ham sandwich? I said, you never heard of a ham sandwich? Yeah, I would take my deal up to the tower where my manager was, and I would ask him if he was hungry, and he'd ask me why. And because I got a ham sandwich here, man. It is just full of all kinds of profit. It's falling all over the place. It's a big old beefy one. And, and that's exactly what I was thinking when we were talking about just before we got recorded. This is going to be a big old beefy podcast of just some cool stuff. But here's what I'd like to do to kick off the podcast, Jim, because I ask everybody this, because I'm just fundamentally fascinated myself. But how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Yeah, that is definitely an interesting question. So I had graduated from school back in the early 80s, and a degree in computer technology, and was looking for an opportunity. And I got an interview with this company called Tricom, and they had developed a little microcomputer-based shop dispatching system for car dealers. And they liked me. I didn't know anything about car dealers or about automotive, but I liked technology. And so I joined them. They're a little Silicon Valley-based company. And I've never looked back. I began traveling around the country, installing these computer systems in dealership service departments, learned a ton about how service departments work, shop loading, dispatching, scheduling, what a service advisor does, what a service manager does, and just fell in love with the people and the business, and and now I'm talking to you.
Well, and I'm glad that we got the chance to connect and do this. So, look here, Jim, you've had many, many years of experience. Look, you over the years, you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm not just talking about the movie, but you've seen it all, right? And you've also seen kind of how things evolved in our industry, so this is where I'd actually like to kick off the podcast today is
Sure.
I'd like to kind of just get your thoughts and opinion. It's just kind of like the overall auto space, kind of like what would be your state of a union? Just where do you see we are right now? What are some of your thoughts of it?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, my observation after over 30 years in the business is that to one degree or the other, the automotive industry is a pendulum that swings back and forth between vehicle sales and service. And I think the pendulum is very strongly swinging back towards service right now. I mean, if you look at the state of retail automotive, what's happening? We are selling more new cars, yes. But as inventory levels have stabilized, that nasty old phenomenon known as margin compression has reared its ugly head. So we're selling more, but we're making less. Used vehicle prices are challenged, and we're seeing recent data coming out from Cox that shows that used vehicle prices are going to continue to struggle. We've got interest rates up, which adds an interesting complexity to the business, and consumer confidence is down. You've got a tightening regulatory environment in the F&I office.
Very true.
All of these things drive that pendulum to swing back towards service, good old reliable, if you will. Yes. According to NADA, historically, service makes up just a little bit more than 50% of the total gross in a dealership. So, and it's been that way forever. The pandemic was an anomaly, but everything is trending back toward that solidly. So, that's kind of where I see things are. And, of course, we've just come through this terrible time with CDK and their ransomware attack.
Oh my gosh,
we seem to be recovering from that, but boy, that was a lost month in many ways. But that aside, I think that we're coming back stronger than ever, and you're going to see service coming to the forefront even more so in the next, at least through 2025.
Well, no, and I'm 100% with you. Like I've my career has been both on the back of the dealership and the front of the dealership. So I've spent a lot of time on both sides. And there's a little place in my heart specifically for the back of the dealership. I just know, there's just, maybe it's because, growing up, my mom ran restaurants and I got to see what happened in the front. And then I got to see the chaos that happened in the back,
Yeah.
But no, you're 100% right. I mean, I think some of the biggest opportunities for any dealership out there, optimizing their operations or optimizing their profitability, because look, we're only going to process our way to profitability. And here's the one thing I love about that statement is that is so incredibly true in the fixed op space. And it's not only true, but it's also incredibly measurable. Right? Like we can see it happen. Like, real time, you make some changes, to the way you market your fixed ops side of the business, the way you operate it. And you can see those changes in dollars in real time because there's so many transactions going through there. How it can possibly affect that? One of the things I'm kind of curious, because I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on, because I was in another podcast, and of course, this was a big topic, especially when it came to fix ops, was EVs. Now, look, I have a love-hate relationship with EVs. I am an EV owner. Yes, please. I know.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. I'm an EV owner. But I'm also a monster displacement, naturally aspirated 600 horsepower owner as well. So I fall in both categories here. But the topic around how EVs are going to affect the fixed op space has been a hot topic. I've seen a lot of posts about it lately. I've seen a lot of people commenting on it, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it, Jim. How do you think it's going to affect that side of the business?
Yeah, it is really fascinating, and it is much larger and more fundamental than I think a lot of people think. So here's my crystal ball. We're gonna, no surprise, we're gonna see a continued shift toward EVs, there's more than 150 of these new models slated to come out in the coming years. These are already well in the product pipeline. So we're going to get there. And what does that mean for service? Well, we know that EVs have, on average 50% or more, fewer, I should say, moving parts. There's very little to maintain. Obviously, there's no oil changes. So the number of CP opportunities, customer pay opportunities for the dealer service department are going to decline. But here's the interesting part of that. So J.D. Power published a study a couple of years ago, and what they found, they had been tracking the repair costs of EVs for years.
Mm-hmm.
They found that the warranty costs on EVs tend to run about 300% higher than an internal combustion engine. And I saw some data recently, I think it was from Cox, that showed, or it might have been J.D. Power, that showed that repair costs on EVs were trending higher. So I think that what we're going to see is, you're going to see CP opportunities dropping with EVs, but you're going to see warranty increasing. So you're going to have this fundamental shift, around, typically, you've got 65% of service department revenue coming from customer pay, and call it 30%, 35% comes from warranty. I think you're going to see a shift in those ratios.
Mm-hmm.
Let's double click on that for a second. What does that mean? I mean, that means a couple of things. Most fundamentally, if there are fewer CP opportunities and there's more warranty opportunities, don't you have to rethink how you market your service department?
Huge.
How you go after, how you capture that warranty work from customers? Much more important now that you make sure you're getting all of those warranty eligible vehicles in your PMA to come to the dealership. So there's a fundamental rethinking that has to take place across all aspects of the service department. How you market, how you process your warranty claims, how your technicians are trained, how you manage the customer. So I haven't heard a lot of conversation, Jason, about rethinking all of that, and it's on top of us, right? I mean, it is just around the corner. So we really need to be thinking about how that we're going to manage that transition.
No, you're 100% right, and maybe this is the little Boy Scout coming out in me and needing to be prepared for everything, right? But no, and when I kind of think about that, I think about the EV buyer. I'm an EV buyer. I'm an EV owner. Like what was one of the things that drew me, all right, to this piece of technology that just happens to have four wheels and a steering wheel? I mean, in reality, that's really what kind of drew me to this, right? But it is the experience of owning, like people that own EVs, all right, there's usually one of two reasons, all right? One is because they want to save the planet. And I believe there is a percentage out there that still believe that it to be true. But I think the majority of them out there, all right, are purchasing it because it provides such a unique experience, all right? And as these things become more cost relevant to its combustion engine counterparts, all right, the choice of going EV for combustion engine really now becomes an element of experience, right? If you've ever been in an EV and driven an EV, it is a very, very different experience. And so that's what kind of drives this type of owner. And I think even the new customers today are still even like that, maybe EVs a little bit more. But then the question goes is, what is the experience inside my dealership, right? If these people are experience driven, meaning they're, let's call them experience junkies. That's what they like to collect. They want to collect, those experiences. I want to go to that restaurant because I want to experience. I want to visit that hotel because I want an experience. I want to go to the zoo because I want to experience, right? There's these series of collections. Then we got to look at our service department and just say, like, it's just the drive-through coming in and then going back out. Is that enough of an experience, especially when I need to go after, to your point, these vehicles that are out there that are looking for warranty? I need to give them a reason to come to me versus going to a competitor. And here's the thing that I'm actually we're talking about competition, guys. Right now, we're actually in a great position because our competition is just the dealership. Right? Think about this on the combustion engine side in the fixed ops space, right? The average dealership has 12 or 13 franchise entities competing for that oil change business. Like you got the Mr. Lubes, the Jiffy Lubes, the Midases, the Fast Fives, the Joe's Auto Shops, the whatever it is. Hey, that doesn't exist on the EVs. We don't have Joe's EV Auto Shop yet. We don't have, we don't have Midas EV yet. And so I think there's still an opportunity for dealers to be proactive, to really put the flag in the ground and own this space. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well.
Well, you're absolutely right. On the EV side, and it's not even just EVs, but certainly that is an aspect of it. But there's so much technology now, and more getting embedded in the vehicle. The amount of onboard computers, the number of sensors, and everything else, that it gets harder and harder for the independents to have all of the technician training and all the diagnostic equipment to effectively diagnose and repair these very, very technically sophisticated vehicles.
Exactly.
Dealers have not done a great job of educating consumers about that. So that's sort of the surface level opportunity. But to go back and riff on a second, Jason, for what you said about the experience, I think dealers have a lot of opportunity. We all manage our lives nowadays based on our technology, right? I mean, I could, while I'm sitting here talking to you, in one hand, I could book a round trip ticket to China, right? While we're talking. Yet, I don't think dealers have fully embraced a technology enabling the service experience at the dealership. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for dealers to provide consumers more of a technology enhanced experience, which it would be to the better. And finally, you mentioned optimizing profit in the service departments. And as we go through this tectonic shift of what are the major elements that drive service revenue and service profitability, I think that number one, we've got to get better with optimizing technology that drives efficiencies there. But we also need to do a better job of embracing the analysis of our service operations, because they're fairly sophisticated businesses. Yes. And there are companies out there who have tools and services. My favorite is Dynatron, who I know you know. Yep. They do a fantastic job of helping you take that data and decomposing it so you can see where the opportunities are, both on the revenue and the profitability side. And I think dealers have to embrace all these things to optimize, fixed operations profitability.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, kind of like, when I think of process, a process is only as good as the piece of technology that's behind it to support the execution and the efficiency and measurement of that process. Wow, that was a mouthful. But I was like, shout out to our sponsors, Repair 360, another really great, solution that, is able to identify opportunities, but make things more efficient and, create a line of communication so that everybody really kind of knows what's going on and the time and how timely things are happening. And I agree with you. I think, if I look at the variable side of the business, right, over the last 10 years, there's been an explosion of technologies in that space. I mean, everything from digital retailing, all right, to some AI communication solutions. Like there's been an explosion there. And I'm not saying that the fixed upside has been left behind, but maybe it kind of has. But you were so right. And I love that you brought this up, but I know this is a rabbit hole. This wasn't on our topics here, but I like this rabbit hole and I want to go down it with you. Is because I am seeing some amazing pieces of technology out there. I would love to kind of get from your perspective, what are some of the opportunities you're seeing there? Like, hey, this is cool. As an industry, we really need to adopt this.
Thank you. Yeah. So, people tend to talk a lot about AI, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's fine just as a generalized topic. But when you dig in, you realize that AI has many facets to it. You have natural language processing. You have RPA, robotic process automation. You have machine learning. So there are different aspects to AI. Some are ready for prime time. Some might be a little bit early. So one of the areas that I think is barely untouched in dealer service is the use of RPA, robotic process automation. Essentially, RPA is the machine is mimicking what a human being would do, and think like the sort of boring, repetitive tasks, data entry, uploading, things of that nature can be easily handled by RPA. And so why have a human being that you're paying, pick a number, $20 or $30 an hour to plus benefits, doing something that a machine can do for 1/5 or 1/10 of the cost? And it's bulletproof technology. It's tried and proven. So that's an aspect of AI that I think is really an area of opportunity for dealers to poke at. NLP, natural language processing, is another one where these computers can take this unstructured text or the spoken word and understand it and craft responses. One of the biggest complaints, and it has been this way for decades, is that the automotive world, particularly in service, isn't as responsive as consumers would like us to be. This is an easy way to apply technology and deliver a better customer experience, and save yourself some money to boot. So that's just two examples. I mean, there's a whole sea of examples, but I think those are the ones really, and use those AI technologies to drive operational efficiencies in your fixed operations in particular. They are well understood. They are very mature. And I just don't understand why dealers don't embrace them, other than it's inertia, right? And to some degree, dealers get technology fatigue, right? We're wary of the next thing, if you will. But these aren't the next thing. These technologies are very proven to deliver great results, and you should be embracing them as quick as you can, modernizing your fixed operations.
Well, and you know what, honestly, I mean, that is the best way you can really describe it, is modernizing. But you're absolutely right. Like, but here's the thing I find in fixed ops. There's never one big thing that makes or breaks the fixed ops experience from a customer's perspective, right? Because usually if it was, we'd probably figure it out and fix it real quick. Like the roof was leaking and the place was stinky. Okay, well, we probably fixed that. There was no parking anywhere on the place. Okay, well, let's figure something out. We'd probably fix that, right? But here's what I find, and because I've had the opportunity to audit a lot of Google reviews. This was a part of what one of my companies used to do. One of the agencies I ran. This was one of the businesses, was really kind of auditing and understanding from an experience perspective what the customers look at. Because here's the cool thing about an experience: it happens regardless if you're intentional about it or not. It just does, right? So. Right. There's no way of getting around it, and the experience happens regardless of what it was. But here's what we found, and this I want to get your perspective on this, is we found that it was never something large. It was always a little thing that either really made the experience or broke the experience. And I would love to kind of get your thoughts on what are some of the little things, all right, shops can be doing to really kind of improve the experience.
Sure. Well, I mean, I agree with you. There are examples of big things.
Sure.
Didn't fix it right the first time is a major thing, because everybody hates to go back. I promised it to you in 2 hours and it took 2 days. Yes. To me, are examples of.
Here, I'll give you one real quick, Jim, because I'll tell you what. I had a technician once, all right, and only once, all right, forget to tighten the lug nuts on a customer's tire.
Oh boy.
Right. I can tell you right now, the dealership never, ever happened again. Look, not for nothing, we made a mistake. All right. Guy drives out. I mean, I don't think he even got it half a mile down the road. There goes the tire. Right?
Oh boy. Yeah.
What are we going to do, Jim? Right? We 100% owned it. Right? There was.
Oh, I mean, what can you say? I mean, that's not like that's a difficult to diagnose,
It was.
subtle problem, right? What do you say? That somebody was sick on lug nut day, so they forgot to.
but I'll tell you what though, from a process perspective, I find when we find like big stuff that happens, we are, as an industry, we're really quick to just like build a whole process, whole training, like ensure that this portion of it never happens. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I agree. But a lot of the time it's kind of the old, what's the straw that broke the camel's back, right?
Good point. Yes.
One of my pet peeves of all time is, hey, I got a website and you can schedule your service appointment, right?
I know.
And you go online and first of all, it's 15 clicks to schedule a service appointment, right? Which is an aggravation in and of itself. But okay, I put in my appointment. It said be there at 8:15. I put in all my information, and then you show up for the appointment, and they act like they don't know who you are, right?
They ask you all this
through the whole rigmarole again, right? I mean, that is, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a major thing. But you right off the bat, you did a couple of things. One, you've started the irritation chain, right? Mm-hmm. Right out of the chute. But what's the other thing that you've done? You just conditioned that customer never to use your online appointment scheduling again, because there's no benefit, right? There's no value to the consumer. What you want is, I set it up, I go, everything's ready, it's a seamless process, I'll keep doing that. But by not honoring the technology that you have, you've conditioned the customer to do the opposite. So that is certainly a one example, and then from there, whatever you do, you're going to do something. Something will be wrong in the waiting room. You won't communicate a change. Certainly the customer's not going to buy any upsells, and you probably lost that customer. So that is one pet peeve of mine. It kind of goes back to deliver to the customer a real technology enhanced experience, and you're alone. You'll own that customer. So there's a huge benefit on the other side. One other example I would give, and this kind of goes to one of the things that I'm doing now for dealers, is an example of an operational efficiency. If you look at OEM warranty claims processing, and last year, I think in North America, OEM warranty claims, not extended warranty, but just basic OEM warranty claims, was about a $25 billion a year business.
Huge business.
But because we've been doing it the same way for 80 years, human beings chasing scraps of paper, doing data entry, looking up codes, the cost of processing a warranty claim consumes somewhere between 12 and 16% of the gross profit from that work, which is a huge bite.
Huge.
So what we've done is we use aspects of AI. We use machine learning. We use RPA, and we take that over on behalf of the dealer. We cut those costs by more than 50%. Typically, we deliver more warranty revenue for the dealer because we sweep the corners. We know, where to get that extra 2/10, where to get that $50 admin fee, all by the manufacturer labor time guide. So all legit. And we process the claims within 24 hours. So there's a perfect example of using modern technology to create an operational efficiency that significally enhances the top line and the bottom line for the dealer. So case in point, but also shameless plug.
No. But no, I actually. Okay, so I do dealership consulting. So I spend a fair amount of time inside of dealerships, working with newer managers or newer GMs, in the business and stuff like that. And a couple months ago, I happened to be working with a new service manager that a friend of mine called me and said, "Would you come in for a couple of days and spend some time with him?" Just I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And watching him, it's funny because you brought up the warranty side. Is he got burned in like the first 6 months on his job with a bad warranty, right? Something got pushed back, and ultimately the dealership had to eat it, right?
Oh boy,
it sucks. It happens though. If you've been in the business long enough, you know about this, right? And he was concerned. He was a little scared moving forward, right? So I was actually going through some of his ROs, and I was like, there wasn't a lot of warranty. There was definitely below the percentage you would normally see, right? We talked for 30% kind of the norm, right? This was considerably lower because there was this fear or concern about putting things into warranty that it was when I'm listening to what you were talking about, there's this empowerment. All right. When we can empower our team, all right, to execute warranty confidently, it actually positively affects the customer experience. It really does. And that was my conversation with them. I was like, how many of your customers should have got this done, but you didn't because I know you were concerned about that. And I'm curious to see if you've seen the same thing. Because I know you talk to a lot of service managers as well. Have you seen kind of that same thing play out?
Yes, absolutely. And it's just common sense. I mean, would you rather have your service leader, your service advisors, your technicians chasing around all these scraps of paper and doing this? Or would you rather have them focused on the guest experience and hand all of that headache off to somebody else? I mean, from my perspective, just looking at it as what's driving better customer satisfaction and therefore better customer loyalty, it's a no-brainer.
It is.
Yeah, it's great to cut your warranty processing costs in half and to get 12% more warranty revenue and process claims within 24 hours. But ultimately, if you can create a loyal customer in service, they're 70% more likely to buy their next vehicle from you, and then the cycle repeats itself. So again, from my perspective, a no-brainer.
No, and again, it's just one of those little things. It's these little things that make huge impacts in our business.
Exactly. Now, there's not one silver bullet, but there's all kinds of little things that you do that you can improve your gross by 10 or 15% by doing a half a dozen little things really well.
Absolutely. Now, since we are on the topic of your company, there was something I saw happen, and I have to ask about it. All right. So you guys got awarded, I believe it's called the Automotive News Pace Award, right? Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did. Well, we got what's called the Pace Pilot Award. Thank you. Automotive News has been doing that for decades. They recognize technology innovations in the automotive ecosystem, and WarCloud. I mean, they recognize technology innovations trying to move the industry forward. Well, we have modernized using AI warranty claims processing, and the industry's been doing it the same way for 80 years. So it fits right in that. As a matter of fact, if you look over my shoulder, I'm pointing with my thumb. There it is, right there.
That's perfect. No, look. I think any way that we can support our dealers through the use of technology to make processes more efficient. But then, like I said, also it empowers them to focus on more important things like the customer experience. I'm 100% for. Look, Jim, I know we're towards the tail end of our time, and I feel like me and you could easily go like a good 30, 40 minutes more than this. But, for everybody out there watching and listening who maybe actually have some questions, or maybe actually want to kind of continue some of the conversation that we've kind of started today, what's the best way for someone to connect with you, Jim?
Sure. Thanks for asking. So they can go to our website, of course, and that's WarCloud. Think Warranty Cloud with 2 R's, warcloud.com. Or they can email me. I love talking to people in the business, as anybody who's heard me speak knows. And that's jim.roche, ROCHE, @warcloud.com. And love to have conversations, talk about what we've talked about on your podcast, Jason, or anything else.
That's awesome. Guys, you really got to take Jim up on it, because I know that he's just one of those people that are just so easy to approach, and with such a wealth of information and experience in the industry. Jim, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. And, we thank everybody out there watching and listening. We really appreciate you guys supporting the show. And hey, if you found anything valuable in today's show, share it. All right. It's one of the best things you can do. All right. If you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of what we do here, one of the best things you do is share the show. Hey, Jim, thank you so much for your time today. You have yourself an amazing day.
Thanks, Jason. Great talking to another car guy.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.